If we're not at a Disney park, we're dreaming about being there, and a cup of Joffrey's Coffee Disney Blend helps. But what about when you're at a Disney park? The Joffrey's Disney Kiosk and Restaurant Locator will make sure you never miss out. Whether it's a cool drink on a hot summer vacation or a great cup of coffee at a Disney signature restaurant, Joffrey's has you covered. Check it out at Joffreys.com.
Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
Welcome aboard the Walt Disney World local monorail system. During the trip, we ask that you remain seated and please refrain from smoking while on board. Thank you. Our next stop is the towering Contemporary Resort Hotel.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. I'm Tim Scott.
I'm Bob Collar.
This is ResortLoop.com. Buckle up. It's time for the DVC Roundtable show.
I picked a heck of a time to stop. Anyway.
Lent, not a good time for you right now.
Watch Airplane, kids. You'll get the reference.
How are we doing, Bob?
Anyway, welcome everybody. Who do we have, Tim?
Today joining us, we have, I want to call her Rebecca White again. No, Rebecca Toon. How you doing?
Been that long.
I know, I'm just teasing you. Miss Rebecca Toon's joining us.
Well, hello, friends. It's been a while.
We also have Emily Hansa Hicks,
who actually gave up alcohol for Lent, Bob. So it's not really
another one.
So did Bob. How are you going through?
Fist bump.
I've lost weight. Let me just tell you that.
Wait, how does this thing work? Will you still be on Lent when you cruise?
So I'm taking a sabbatical.
I could do this if you could cheat.
There's no rules on the water.
I'm storing up the Sundays.
Right. When you're in international waters, all bets are off.
That's right. Anything happens. What happens on the high seas stays on the high seas.
Yeah, because God's not going to find you out there.
No.
So it's all good. Don't worry about it.
It's not like he's flooded things before.
That whale that swallows people.
It's like our ark. Also joining us on the show. Also joining us, Joe Quattrochi.
I'm calling it March 2020, Marceline Motorcycle Club, Bob Collar, Daytona Beach, Bike Week. You're there. I'm calling it now.
All
right, 2020?
2020.
That's a big jacket. That's a big jacket to buy.
All right. Let's do it. I'm serious. Let's do it. 2020. Right. It's Bike Week right now, right?
It's Bike Week right now. Yes, it's halfway through. So.
All right. I can do March. All right. I don't know how I'm going to ride the motorcycle down there in the cold, but I'll do it.
Just trailer it.
Marceline Motorcycle Club over on Facebook, if you guys are interested in riding and things like that. Yeah. So
I'll miss you all.
She'll be following you in the silent car.
Pick you up, throw you on the back of the bike. Let's go.
That's kidnapping.
I'm going.
That is kidnapping.
Unless, of course, I give up motorcycle riding for Lent. Then that won't happen.
It's only kidnapping if I refuse to go.
All right. Well, so what are we going to talk about today, Tim?
All right. Actually, since the last time we did our roundtable, it's been a kind of a slow news month, or 3 weeks, actually. We only have one good story, but with a couple emails, and something tells me with our group, there will not be harm-filling time. So I think we're just going to... Let's go right to our news story for the month. I mean, not because it's the big one, but it's the only one, now that I've hyped it.
Which makes it the big one.
That's true, by default. Emily, what's our news story?
Extra, extra. Read all about it.
Woo-hoo.
More Copper Creek Point news.
Way to sell it.
I feel like
the resort that won't go away.
Right? And unfortunately, if those cabins were a little point cheaper, I would buy it. But DVC expects to run out of its supply of points for Copper Creek and Villas by no later than June 1st. And it's already revealed how much the cost increase after that date will be. On June 1st, 2019 or before, they plan to raise the price of Copper Creek to $188, or from $188 to $210 per point. Also, the promotional incentives will cease in conjunction with the price increase. The current promo will save you $7 to $9 a point off the 188 point price while buying 175 vacation points. And of course, the incentives decrease from there, depending on the volume of points you purchase. So they're kind of firing a shot across the bow and saying, get your orders in, folks.
Do they do this regularly when they start to run out of points?
I remember Grand Floridian going up repeatedly. I don't know if anybody else remembers that, and I think Poly too. I feel like at least Grand, because that's the price I was watching. It seemed like it went up by 5 or 10 points very rapidly, and if you consider it was, a 2012, I think, when it opened, and it went from 155 to 200 something now through Disney. They're not shy about jumping these prices up. 188 to 210 is pretty significant, especially considering taking away those incentives, because right now it's kind of like 180. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
I did read on DVCnews.com that they're still selling Alani's like 15% off. So they still can't get rid of Alani.
That's funny.
Wow. Well, it's tough because people just can't get over there. Like, a lot of us East Coast folks, Joe excluded, can't get over to Alani as easily.
It took a lot to get there, Bob, right?
I know. I know.
Right?
Did you see Southwest is now booking flights out that way?
Yeah.
I did.
That's kind of awesome.
Sure you could fly in the Boeing 737-8 Max as well out to Hawaii. So
I believe what happened was I said I would never fly Southwest again, and they said, hold my beer. And then they started offering flights to fly.
Like, I did that with Frontier and Spirit and recently caved on both.
Okay, so I will say, through no fault of my own, I am actually becoming a bit of a Spirit fan.
Yeah.
it's not bad. The big front seat's great.
Bad.
I love the big front seat.
You know what, Joe? You started that, actually. Yes. And even when I don't get the big front seat, I've learned that if you can manage your expectation and know what you're getting, they're usually on time. I've heard the horror stories, but for me, I've never missed a flight. I've never been delayed. They are always friendly. I mean, I just have had good experiences with them, and I know everyone's experience is different. But Spirit has been and I've had a couple of issues where I've reached out to them and they've been more than generous. So I have to say, I don't hesitate to fly Spirit when they're the most economical anymore.
Yeah.
I agree. And honestly, from Cleveland, they have some pretty darn good flight times.
Yeah.
So the schedules are better than something United.
I've found some incredible deals just out of Hartford, which is a smaller, more convenient airport for me than LaGuardia or JFK, but out of Hartford to Florida, that like $39, $49, $59 one way, that really can't be beat when you're wanting to make a quick getaway.
Well, when you're paying $210 a point to buy DVC, you need to save your money on air travel.
True.
Exactly. So, I think, again, it's all about managing expectations.
I said, well, going back to the Copper Creek, I am so happy this is almost, because I feel like we've been talking about Copper Creek for like 2 years, and it's like, sell the darn thing and be done with it.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's an expensive jump. I don't know.
And don't get me wrong, guys. I would love to buy some Copper Creek, but the thing is, I don't think the units fit my family right now, except for that cabin. And even that cabin isn't like large enough. I think, doesn't it only hold 8?
Just to be clear, you're a family of 5, right?
Just family of 5. Yep. Yeah. Sorry about that. So if the unit only holds 4,
well, not everyone stalks you like I do.
Right.
So
you're totally right. Right. Hi, Rebecca. I see you in the window.
Let me in. It's cold out here.
Mommy, Aunt Rebecca's outside again.
For once, there's plenty of booze. But yeah, so I think that we would love to go. We would love to get a cabin, but it's just not compatible with college savings. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, Tim.
I so know what you're talking about. It starts up again here in a couple months. Yeah.
There are ways to get around the whole college savings, by the way. I'm understanding.
I've listened to the news lately.
Yeah. If you're a fan of Full House.
Or Aunt Becky.
That seems like an expensive route, though.
Well,
it does, a little bit. Yeah. Or you could just actually be an athlete. That would be interesting, too.
Right.
That would work, I suppose. Or hey, study.
Now stop it.
With that
idea.
Crazy talk.
Emily, have you or Joe stayed at Copper Creek?
Yeah. Well, no. sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying I stayed at Wilderness Lodge proper, and I'm currently waitlisted at Boulder Ridge, but I've not stayed at Copper Creek yet. So I still find it weird that it's named differently. It's the same place,
right?
It's Wilderness Lodge with efficiency units.
It's especially weird because they carved out part of Wilderness Lodge. Like it's not even all new build. They pulled some of the actual lodge.
I agree.
Which one's the wrong side of the tracks? I mean, which one don't you want to be in? You look down on the other side.
Whichever side Joe and I are staying in.
There you go.
That's awesome. But no, I did a tour of Copper Creek, and I've stayed at both the Wilderness Lodge, which is where I stayed for Princess, and then I stayed at Boulder Ridge with my family last January. And I will say I'm definitely in love with that resort. So what you're saying, so I just want to be clear here because I think I may have heard inaccurately. You're not saying that the build itself, the layout doesn't work for your family. You're saying the price point doesn't work for your family right now. So the cabins, I think, are the only unit that you can have more than 4 people in. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong. But I think the Copper Creek...
Look at that because I haven't pulled up right now.
Yeah, or maybe even 2 bedrooms too. But what I need is... My perfect unit is a 1-bedroom right now. And then when the kids get bigger, a 2-bedroom. So studios in 1 bedroom can only accommodate 4 people. You have to move to a 2-bedroom or a grand villa. Right.
Or the cabins to move past 4 after you have no crib children.
Exactly. So otherwise, when we bought an add-on last year, I think I told you guys about Grand Floridian. If Copper Creek had 1 bedrooms with 5 that slept 5, we would have bought direct Copper Creek, and then just fantasized about saving up for a cabin someday.
Fantasized about saving.
But they don't.
And you prefer to say these cabins at Boulder Ridge to say, or at Copper Creek to say the ones at the Poly?
The cabins at Copper Creek, I like them better than. Well, no, I mean they're both gorgeous. I'm just curious as to owner-homeowners sort of hierarchy. Those I prefer like the Pacific Northwest theme. So I think if I had to pick, I'd probably go Wilderness Lodge, or I'm sorry, Copper Creek. But the truth is, my fantasy vacation is Bora Bora, so Polynesia. I don't know. I feel like you could go to Bora Bora for what you could take your whole family. It's like, I think the trip to Bora Bora is only like, this is going to sound only like, but I think it's like maybe $10,000. Well, you do stay at the Great Floridian, so it's fine. Right. But a trip to Bora Bora, maybe, I can't remember if this is with or without airfare, but it's like $10,000. And by the time you do the points equations, I would say, especially if you're going to rent a cabin or a bungalow, I bet you're spending almost $10,000. I don't know. I'd have to do the math. That's where Joe comes in. But yeah, it's I think that it's not. I think you would be better off going to Bora Bora. So going to Bora Bora, right? Of course, they don't have rides there. So I mean, they do have boats.
You can get a park hopper though, which is kind of weird.
Yeah. right.
But you don't have to pay to park.
That's true.
Well, I think with the announcement of Galaxy's Edge this past week, like in the dates, I mean, at least I've noticed I think the Disney site went down the one day where people are trying to make reservations for the fall now, and I know I'm waitlisted at Boulder Ridge, which essentially is Wilderness Lodge, for my trip in September, which will probably not come through now because everybody's going to want to go to Galaxy's Edge. So if you're interested in Copper Creek or the Wilderness Lodge feel, you might want to think about buying, because I don't know if Star Wars is going to be a game changer with waitlists not coming through for specific, especially the smaller resorts. I mean, as a member of Saratoga or Old Key West, are some of the larger ones, but Copper Creek is small, Boulder Ridge is small, Grand Floridian's small. Like, you need to be a member of those resorts or book right at the 7-month window, or else you're not going to get it.
Right. And we're going to go in January, and I already have the exact date, for our 11-month window. It's flagged, and I've got an alarm set for it, and we will be booking at the 11-month window at one of our home resorts, even though it's January, which is typically a low traffic time because kids are in school. But yeah. And then the other thing, Joe, that just made me think of is, I think we've mentioned this before on the podcast, but if we haven't, there is a little direct secret. If you do purchase direct, they will help you make a courtesy reservation one time when you're purchasing.
Yeah, it's like the magic. I forgot what it's called.
Yeah. And
That's only for
essentially,
direct, not for resales.
Right,
Unfortunately,
right. So essentially, Disney will try their very best. I don't think it's guaranteed, but they'll try their very best to get you accommodations for your. Say you were purchasing and you wanted to come in 2 weeks, they would do their best to get you that reservation, even if it meant. I think what they do to make that happen is they sometimes pull from their own inventory.
Cash inventory.
Yes, exactly. So it's. I don't think they're ripping off any members with this process or anything like that. But I've been told that they pull from the cash inventory when the place is sold out. If you're willing to buy direct, so if you are thinking about that, and you're kind of thinking about it, and you're also thinking, I want to be there for Galaxy's Edge and everything's booked. That's just kind of, I'll just throw it out there if you're feeling like you're.
That's actually great information, because I know enough diehard Disney or Star Wars fans that this might be enough to push them over the Galaxy's Edge. So
There you go.
Get a 75 pointer.
Yeah.
See how it goes.
Just to see how it goes. Yeah. Which I think actually moves really well into the next email that we have.
Take it away.
Oh, I guess am I reading this? So we got an email.
I mean, it's fine if you're not listening, Joe.
No, I
was
was listening. It's Tim and Bob's show. So
Every show but this one, Joe. Every show but this one.
It's my contract. So let Tim read the emails. So here we go. All right. So we had an email from an anonymous.
It's true.
So this person knows who they are, but we're going to read it. It's kind of a lengthy email, but I think it has a lot of great information in it.
Yeah.
It says, I enjoy the shows. I think the DVC Roundtable helped convince me to buy in. So thanks a lot for that. We're glad that we helped you, buy your DVC. It says here, I got a direct contract for 60 points at Old Key West. The last day you could buy less than 75 points direct last year. So they saved a little bit of money there. I wanted the annual pass discounts and other perks. I have been eagerly awaiting the day when I could afford to add points. I wanted to get resale at villas at Grand Floridian or Boardwalk, or maybe buy a small add-on contract at a new one like Riviera if there were good incentives, and if I liked the studios. No regrets until this week. However, the continuing moves by Disney to put resale buyers at a disadvantage are making me rethink my plans. Attempting to make the studios cost more points. Members obviously wanted studios, so why not give customers what they want instead of slapping us? Raising rates faster than ever, announcing the new resale buyers can't stay at new resorts, and now announcing that Riviera resale owners can only stay at Riviera. All of that in 1 year, which we've kind of said in past shows, like Disney, what are you doing? Slow down. You're killing us here. This emailer continues to say, why would I ever buy something so hard to sell like Riviera? Killing the resale market kills sales and hurts direct owners too. I'm afraid to buy any more new points. I might buy a Cadillac with prices and be stuck with a Yugo I can't sell. This is actually this is actually pushing me toward resale because I think new resorts will have a terrible resale value. What's next? Resale buyers can't bank and borrow, and I can't read tonight. It says, anyway, the recent moves by Disney really got me thinking. And it says, I didn't want to put this rant on Facebook or share my name publicly, but I want Disney to think about these concerns. They are backpedaled on point increases, right? So maybe there's hope that they will lighten up. Thanks again for the great shows and reading my rant. Did I out-rant Bob? And it says your show also made me visit Joffrey's coffee kiosk, so thanks for that too. So we're glad that our discussions here helped you buy DVC and get hooked on caffeine.
They go hand in hand.
And let me just say, I am a professional ranter, so
That's true.
There is that. There's a disadvantage because I make my living at ranting.
I had to pay for the course.
I feel like what this reader is telling, or this emailer is telling, is that we're just a weird gateway drug.
I'm fine with that. As long as you're listening.
And I mean, I'm totally fine with that. I did not give alcohol up for Lent.
I think we've kind of said the same thing that like about the resales, like the sales with Riviera might suffer because you might not be able to resell it or it's going to be super constrictive because resale buyers can only stay at Riviera. That was the one thing we always said here in the DVC Roundtable is like, you can always unload it. Even after all these years, people have the original Old Key West contracts or Boardwalk or Beach Club contracts. They've gone up like enormous amounts and they're half used.
Right.
You're 25 years into a 50-year contract and your value of you're making money. You're making money on it. That's never going to happen with this thing with Riviera with the restrictions on it. I said on the other show, Mickey Dudes I'm on, we were discussing it with our sponsors of our DVC resale market. I said, do you think that this will affect this will affect Disney's direct sales. And if DVC sees that, the reason why people are not buying direct is because they said, well, I can't resell it. They'll, backpedal on it. And they said that, anything is possible. They've already backpedaled on, redacting the studio points. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But there's no regrets. Whoever wrote this email, do not regret buying your contract. You're in the club. Just add on to it. Find yourself a nice resale contract you can live with. Like we always say, buy somewhere you want to stay at. So what, you're not gonna be able to stay at Riviera or the nursing home that's gonna be built at Fort Wilderness. I mean, it's there's plenty of other great resorts you could stay at. So
just say nursing.
Well, everybody get reflections. Everybody says it sounds like a nursing home. So.
It does. He's right. It does.
It should be called Disney's River Country Resort. That's what it should be called, and it's not.
Right. Another consideration is getting a direct, putting yourself on a wait list for a direct contract at, say, Grand Floridian or something like that, where you will still have those exchange options, or at least you think you will. So that's it. Rather than saying, I won't buy an add-on at Riviera. Riviera is not the only direct option, even though it's the only one they advertise. Like you could get Aulani, or you could get you could get Grand Floridian, you could get Boulder Ridge. Just put yourself on a wait list for one of those resale contracts if you have time. Or I'm sorry, not resale, but one of those direct contracts that they pull from.
Well, it's a resale. I mean, they're reselling it. I mean,
Disney resale.
I mean, what I would do is, if you really didn't care, get yourself on a newer Old Key West contract, the second version of it that's got more years left on it. I don't know if they're not gonna be selling Old Key West at $210 a point, or what was it, 20? What they said the price is going up to two. There's no way they're gonna sell that at $210 a point. It'll definitely be cheaper than what it is. Get yourself on tell your guide, I want the newer Old Key West contract. I want 75 points of that. You call me when that comes up, and you make the sale. I mean, that's just know what you want to get yourself into. I mean, if you're looking at Grand Floridian or Bay Lake Tower, you're going to pay a lot more for it, but maybe find something in the middle, like I said, an Animal Kingdom contract or Old Key West, or even, my beloved Saratoga Springs. Find one of those, and then, pad your points up that way.
That's actually a great idea, actually.
Great tip.
I think yep. In Animal Kingdom, I feel like Animal Kingdom is constantly, there's always some Animal Kingdom contracts out there, but they fly off the shelves and then they get restocked quickly too. So I think that's a good contract to buy, if that makes any sense. I feel like people, especially with young kids, really love Animal Kingdom Lodge.
Yeah. I think people love the cheap point values and the concierge that you can get there.
Right. Right. And the good value on those, the studios, I think that's what you're talking about. Yeah. The value studios that hold 4, but they're tinier.
Yeah.
And it's got some of the best places to eat.
Absolutely.
Oh, yes.
And if you think about in the life cycle of a DVCer, people buy all the time at different ages, but the time that it's super tempting is when you have young kids. And Animal Kingdom and any of the ResortLoop resorts are very tempting for people with young kids because
I find it really funny because I was never tempted when I had small children. It was only when I was an adult and had disposable income.
What's that?
That's so funny.
Yeah. Exactly. It gets that word. Hashtag.
Right.
Yeah.
And this email should just know too that she says, oh, I hope I don't have regrets with buying. It's like, remember, you're buying a DVC because you want to go to the parks. You want to go down to Orlando. So that should always be, you shouldn't buy it as like I'm going to sell it in 4 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, that's a bonus. And as a timeshare, timeshares for the most part are really, really hard to sell and get rid of. Like it's a no, especially in Orlando, it's like they're a dime a dozen. Right. DVC was always one that you could get rid of. I think in the future, you'll still be, even with the restrictions, you'll still be able to sell it. There'll always be somebody willing to buy it. I mean, there's people willing to pay $12,000 to go on a tour for 10 hours, whatever it is. I mean, so you'll always find somebody to buy it. But remember, you're buying it because you want to go to the parks. You want to stay inside the park. So just remember, always run the numbers, stay where you want to stay. And remember, that's really the primary purpose is to go to the parks, not to really resell it.
That's right. This is not a guaranteed investment.
And use all the money you save to go to Joffrey's.
There you go.
Yes. Buy more coffee.
Buy more coffee.
Let me tell you something. I'm not a big coffee guy, right? I drink Joffrey's when I go to the parks, and I always tweet at them. And I do like their iced coffee and their Mickey's 9th blend. I did, however, I'm in Virginia working for work, and I'm in the office. I'm in an office more than I usually am, right? So I'm kind of like hitting the wall in the afternoons. So I ended up buying some, and Joffrey's does not make K-Cups, right? So I ended up buying some Dunkin' Donuts K-Cups. And I'm using the Dunkin' Donuts K-Cups. And let me tell you something. I got spoiled. Like, I know they're a sponsor of this show, but their coffee is that good. This stuff tastes like, and Dunkin' Donuts is decent coffee. It's just not the same. No, it's like, it really isn't. So props to Joffrey's. They have a good product. I mean, they really do.
They do have a good product.
Need the K-Cups.
I think they do have K-Cups.
Oh, they had them one time.
I'm just here to correct you and send you this link that they do have K-Cups.
They do have K-Cups?
Thanks, Rebecca. I was looking it up too.
They don't have K-Cups for the Disney blends.
That's maybe why. Okay.
But they do have K-Cups for my personal favorite, which is the Jamaican Me Crazy.
Well, the French bistro that's in...
yes, the French bistro that's
in the rooms.
Yep,
yeah,
you're right. So you can get the French bistro, you can get the Jamaican Me Crazy, which is my personal favorite, and you can also get the Valor Blend, which helps, which part of the profits go to veterans, which is really good.
See, my favorite is actually the California Grill Blend.
Oh, yum.
Yeah, like between that and actually it's a Citricos blend, because I always have coffee at those meals when I go there, and it just tastes so good after a meal. But
it does. Yeah. Here's what you need to do then. You need to get the ground Joffrey's, and then you need to get one of those little K-Cups that you can put your own coffee in.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Plus, it's also environmentally more pleasant if you do that. So.
But I just want to thank this person for writing in.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Great email.
We feel a lot of the same feelings that you have. And I do think that hurting the resale market degrades, I think we've talked about it, degrades the overall product. So it's hopefully they'll see that it's not a long-term solution. I think, I don't remember if I said this last time, but I have this sneaking suspicion that they may lift these restrictions at some point, and it may be after Copper Creek sells out, or after they sell out Alani or something like that. Like, there may be a strategic reason that they're doing it now to scare people into buying, but fear purchasing at Disney World just seems like a really bad strategy.
True.
So, like, don't scare us into buying, wow us into buying.
Also, Bob, do you have any tips for our emailer for their next rant?
A little louder, with more capitals and a lot more exclamation points. Do like just an all caps somewhere in there, and a lot of exclamation points.
Misspell some words because you're so angry.
Bonus points for the shaky pointer finger. I thought that was good, right?
Very nice.
Okay. All right, yeah.
It's not. It's not. It's almost up there when Tim plays the monorail tones when Bob goes off the. do. I always love that.
Tim is the only one that's seen the finger shake.
That's true.
Oh,
yeah,
it's scary. It's truly scary.
Keep trying, friend. You'll get there.
All right, Rebecca, you have an email I thought would be great to talk about.
I do. A friend of mine messaged me a while back saying that it basically says, "Hey, Becca, great news. Our extended family is planning their next trip to Walt Disney World, planning to go next December or January. Our thoughts are possibly planning to rent DVC points, so we were wondering how many guests can stay in the largest DVC option. There are 8 of us going, all mostly adults. Is there any place that can handle the whole crew? And what are the top 3 questions you ask yourself when choosing a resort?" Thanks so much. So this is a good friend of mine. He's been to Disney any number of times. His daughter and now husband, they've grown up at Disney, so they're big fans. They know their way around the parks, but this will be the first time they've ever looked into renting DVC points. So actually the first thing I suggested to them, while the 2 bedrooms and the villas can usually accommodate at least 8 people. Some of the grand villas accommodate, I think it's 12.
Yep.
Is there anything that does bigger than 12 in a single unit?
Nope, not that
I didn't think so. So actually the first thing I suggested to this person was that instead of renting one large unit, that they consider renting perhaps 2 studios. And I just gave him the example. So for instance, if you're staying at the boardwalk, you could get 2 studios for a total of 208 points, but you would pay 206 points for one bedroom. With the 2 studios, which you could request to be adjacent, you could have more square footage, more actual beds, and more importantly, in my case, another bathroom. So that was the first piece of advice that I gave him. And I don't know, Joe and Emily, if you would have different advice on that. But then the other question that he asked was, what are the top 3 questions you ask yourself when choosing a resort? So I'm curious as to what, as owners, you guys look at.
Well, I would say the first one, if you're going to take that route with doing, obviously run the numbers, see what's cheaper or not. If you're going to put 4 adults in a studio and make sure everybody's comfortable being in a closed quarter kind of space, but also look at what sleeps what. Like, for example, the studios at Old Key West have 2 queen beds in them. So if you go to Saratoga, you're going to have a queen bed and a queen pull-out from a couch.
Ooh, that's a great point.
And then also, if they driving, they can have a car. I feel like a Saratoga.
They would be driving. They would definitely be driving.
I personally think like Old Key West would be perfect because you probably can get those 2 studios like close together, also driving up to them. And if you're gonna have like a van full of like luggage and everything like that, you could pull right up to your unit and you're right there. Bam. If you're staying at like Bay Lake Tower or Polynesian, you got to trek through the resort. You might not be next to each other. It might just be a little easier logistically if you're gonna be driving to the parks. They say they're veterans. Somewhere like, where you could drop to your unit, like Saratoga, Old Key West. I'm trying to think of which other ones are like that. I think those are like the only 2 you really drive up to.
I feel like
Animal Kingdom.
They got the garage underneath, but I mean, it's still not as bad. Yeah, you can take the elevator down to the garage down below, but that's the first thing that came to my mind is look at the options. I know, like I said, Old Key West. I mean, they only have 1 bathroom. It's there like 2 at the Poly, but if you just stagger, I mean, I'd rather have a better bed than a second bathroom.
That's an interesting. I mean, because I would commandeer the good bed, so I wouldn't really care. But
that has been settled.
As a nice person, I guess that's a great thing to think about.
Which may be why you're not one of the 8 that are going. Actually.
Fair point. Maybe why Tim's been avoiding me all this time.
Maybe.
Well, to Rebecca, to your point, I agree entirely with your thought about dividing it up into smaller units, because we were actually thinking for Star Wars, we wanted to book a number of units to bring some friends with us who hadn't been to Disney or loved Star Wars or something like that. And we were thinking, we'll get a grand villa, or we'll get a grand villa and a 2-bedroom. And we've been saving points for a little bit well, actually, no, we just bought new points because we used them all. Let's be honest. There was no saving. So I'm like, wait, why am I lying to everyone?
We're here amongst friends here. It's fine.
Right. We bought a new contract essentially for Star Wars. So it became clear to me that it was actually going to be cheaper by point if we were to purchase or to rent studios for our friends and then give them the privacy of having their own unit and then get them all in the same resort so that we could all meet for things, but not have anybody feel pressured to be like in the room together. Yeah. So depending on, that's the other component I would say, depending on how much you're going to do together and how much people want their freedom, consider that. Like if you're going to go to everything together.
So would that be one of your questions that you would ask yourself as you're using, which was, okay, interesting.
Yep. I would say
for you and Joe, does ownership come into play? Like, is that a default for you?
So I would make the reservation at a place I owned first at the 11 month, just to make sure I had a place. But I would still have my end game. I always do that. I make my home resort reservation at 11 months, and then I switch as soon as I can, if I can.
Yep.
So, yep.
Okay.
So,
I mean, it asks for places to stay. I mean, for Jen and I, it's kind of random. Like I just talked before, we're waitlisting at Boulder Ridge because, I mean, we've never stayed there. So we're kind of making the rounds. We've stayed at Old Key West for Marathon Weekend. We've been at Saratoga last summer. We've been at Bay Lake Tower, Polynesian. So we kind of we want to try something different. So for us, it's, it's really not, I mean, I guess, the only time it would really make a difference is maybe like race weekend.
Sure.
We know like Old Key West, Saratoga for us, we know it's quick bus rides.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? So that kind of plays into it.
I asked myself, like I have two top questions I asked. I don't actually have 3, but I do have 2. One is, how much time am I actually spending in the parks versus the resort? Because that comes into play very often for us now that we're adults and don't have children. And then, sort of, what park do we want to be near? Like, if we're going for food and wine, clearly Boardwalk, Beach Club, those are going to come into play. So that's all. And then a novelty too has become, especially since we've made our way around the resorts over the years, novelty definitely comes into play as well.
Yeah, I would say that's exactly what I was going to say about picking the location. If the person is if the person, did you say that they are DVC or that they are?
They are not. So they're going to be renting, but they are renting with the eye of if they really enjoyed it, they would purchase.
Okay. So I would say if they know what they're planning on doing and they know what their people like, so what resort, say like they're a bunch of Star Wars people and they know they're going to want to hang out at Hollywood Studios a lot, then I would say look at Boardwalk and Beach Club for the exact same reasons. If because it's all adult, I would say focus on Boardwalk and Beach Club, and Boardwalk has a really low price point,
and a ton of units.
Yes, and so I love Boardwalk. I think it's like the best sort of meet every need thing. But then if you have young kids with you, I think Resort Loop is really hard to beat because you can take a stroller or you can just be at the Magic Kingdom pretty quickly as long as your monorail doesn't break down. So like, it's a pretty smooth, like, so I say pick based on location, or if somebody in the party has a huge desire to see one of the resorts. But for adults, the Resort Loop is not too bad either because you've got all the great nightlife on the Resort Loop, the Trader Sam's
and as adults, we often pick Animal Kingdom Lodge because we aren't spending a lot of times in the park. We love the amenities at Animal Kingdom Lodge. We love the restaurants. So that's always sort of if we think we're going to have a low park visit, we will sort of default to Animal Kingdom Lodge.
I don't think it's any different if you're just booking a cash room. Like Tim and Bob, what do you guys look at?
Actually, good point.
I mean, like, what do you like? I mean, I know Tim's a big contemporary guy. I know Bob's a big fan of Country Fair. I mean, when you guys are looking at, booking your trips, what is this?
Well, obviously, cost for me and convenience for Tim. So there's.
Well, what do you recommend to your customers?
Spend lots of money. Spend lots of money. It's so worth it.
I mean, I feel like so I spend a lot of time guiding people to their decision on not this topic but other topics. So I feel like you probably do as well, Bob and Tim. So if a complete newbie to Disney World sent you an email and said, we're going, but we have no idea where we want to stay, what would be the first question you ask them?
Tim?
What do you want to spend hotel room-wise for your room? Because then you can kind of get on, like, how convenient do you want to be to the parks? How big of a deal is that to you? Are you going to go till night? Do you want the convenience of like just walking to the Contemporary when you're done for the night? Because sometimes waiting for that monorail or that bus just seems like it's forever.
I remember the first time I ever believed that I could justify the splurge to a moderate or a deluxe is we were there during the summer and we were staying at All Star Sports, and it was before they started sort of like really front loading the buses at night, and I think we waited at least 90 minutes and we're still at the back of the line, and we walked over to Contemporary and called a cab.
I will say a game changer.
Walked into the lobby and thinking,
a game changer now, helping them decide on resorts if they're going to be out late, like one night, is the minivans.
Yes.
If you don't mind that splurge at the end of the night, we did that when this last past time we were there late for that Christmas party. The minivan was fantastic.
And I think Disney is great about providing alternatives, even for those people who choose to stay at a more value-priced resort. There are options for those one-offs that you might choose to do. But I think price point is important not only to rack rate, but also to rental or buying.
Yes.
Because there is a pretty big difference.
And to that end, I'd say Boardwalk is a really good adult choice because
Boardwalk is like my go-to.
Yeah.
Because I'm an Epcot fan. I love being able to go to the studios. I love their pool, even the clown. And I love the amenities that they have. And everything is sort of within a fingertip.
And it's modeled after the great state of New Jersey too. So.
Okay,
there you go.
That's a strike against it, but we don't.
I'd like the Newark wing.
Newark, Camden.
Fixing the smell I'm used to. Could you fix that?
Listen, Connecticut girl, right? Just be nice.
For adults, you can also.
Yeah, so I think price point's a great consideration too.
Yes.
Yeah, adults can also walk across to that gas station that has
Speedway. It's got booze. So.
It's got booze.
Speedway.
You can get some beer. You can get a case of beer and walk back over.
Speedway.
If you're feeling price sensitive about your booze. So
Yeah, I think a lot has to do with what it is you're interested in doing. If the parks are your main goal, then definitely, beach club, boardwalk, yacht and beach club are great because you got two parks. You got two parks right there.
Yeah, so. and I actually suggested boardwalk. That was part of my answer to them because they are 8 mostly adults. The 2 sons are, in their older teens. And the answer is they're probably all going to be doing different things. Mm-hmm. So this is a home base to then shoot off to 2 or 3 other parks without feeling too, put upon.
And then again, if you're looking for adult activities, again, the Crescent Lake area, those are great resorts, but don't forget Saratoga Springs for downtown Disney.
Yeah. And Old Key West too, I think.
Right. And Old Key West. Anything that can get you there.
I actually like Joe's suggestion of Old Key West. It's not one I would have thought of giving them, but I think it's actually really reasonable.
Yeah, me and Jen I always ask Jen, like, what do you think about this place? What do you think about this place? And she actually, I think Boardwalk is still tops with her, but she's really getting a love Old Key West. Yeah. She's like, I love the vibe. She goes, I love Olivia's. I love the gurgling suitcase.
It's so laid back.
It's very laid back.
I love Saratoga for that reason too.
Yeah, I mean, it's and lucky for us, we can get into both those places. It's not super difficult, and I like quiet. I've said it on this show many times. Like when I go back to my room, I like quiet, and Old Key West is quiet. I mean, it's we like it that way. So
that brings up another point. If it's a relaxation trip, I tend to think of, well, there's a great thing on Loop Reduction Library right now, so I won't spoil some of the results. But I tend to think of certain resorts for relaxation, and then I think of other ones for high energy trips. So, I think that's something else you should think about is like, absolutely. Do you want to sit by the pool all day? Do you want to feel like you're, like tropical or African safari or oasis? Not safari, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, there you have it.
There you go. Well, I mean, there's a lot of that's the thing about Disney, and that's the beauty of even the DVCs is that there's options that you can get away from everything, like out at Animal Kingdom. You can be right in the heart of everything, like the Crescent Lake area and Boardwalk and all the activities that are there. You can have the quiet Old Key West or Saratoga, but still be able to go and have the Disney Springs be right there. It's really got a lot of options, and that's what I think makes it hard for a lot of people.
So you have to go back.
Yeah. That's why you got to go back.
That's true. Buy the DVC.
Exactly.
Yeah. Definitely.
Exactly. We can't be wrapping up already, Tim.
I think we are wrapping up. It is it. Like I said,
listen,
it's a quality, not quantity.
DVCers.
Right.
I mean, I'm not saying it's Brad, but
oh wow,
wow, Brad.
You could find me on Twitter at JoeQuat. You could find me on.
Exactly right.
Please don't find me anywhere. I'm talking to Brad right now.
I'll be hanging out with Tim and his family at the pool on board the Fantasy soon. So.
Yeah, you will. I'm already trying on swimsuits.
Maybe we can have a shipboard DVC show. That'd be cool.
That would be so fun.
When do you guys leave? 2 weeks?
About that.
8. Yeah. Yep.
So jealous.
Can't wait to see some photos.
It'll be a good time.
It's going to be fun.
Hear the stories.
I need to post some photos of Tim since I have no idea what he looks like anymore.
And I believe
some great pictures of us on a beach together, so
that's right.
You can look forward to that.
All right. Well,
there are videos out of Tim. There are actual videos. Right. We cook stuff.
You can't find those.
Go to YouTube.
Trying to undermine me.
Didn't we have this exact same conversation last time you were on the show?
I think so.
Yes,
Bob.
That is all I have for the DVC Roundtable.
Excellent. Joe, you started us off. Where can people find you?
Sure, you can find me on Twitter at JoeQuat. You can also find me over at the Mickey Dudes podcast. And also, I just want to say to you guys, Tim and Bob, awesome interview with Sarah Kersey. I really enjoyed it. So if you guys haven't listened to that interview, it was the previous show released. Awesome. Really liked it. So good job by Sarah. So hello, Sarah, if you're listening.
Yeah, she's truly a superhero, by the way.
Ooh, I love it.
My cruising buddy, Emily Hansa Hicks, where can people find you?
Well, when I'm not sailing the high seas, You can find me hanging out on Looper Nation Live as Emily Jean or Resort Loop Rocketeers, same name, and Twitter as First Comes WDW, and same thing at firstcomeswdw.com, which is my very stale blog, and that's pretty much it.
And last but not certainly least, Rebecca Toone.
You can find me at Looper Nation Live. You can find me over at the Resort Loop Rocketeers. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook under Becca Berry. And if you're on Twitter, I rant a lot over there as Tequila Becca.
And she shakes her finger as well? On Tim Scott,
I do
Facebook, Twitter, website?
I'm not as good as Bob, but he's giving me lessons.
Do you stick it in the drink and mix it around?
I do, actually. It's for effect mostly, but...
Whatever. I think that's it, Bob.
That's it?
On Facebook, Twitter, the website, ResortLoop.com. You're interrupting me now. No, I'm kidding. I'm still heartbroken over Lori Loughlin.
So sad. So sad.
So sad.
Everyone go out there and share the gateway to the magic.
Just study.
Study.
See you, everybody.
Vacation memories will stay with you and your family for a lifetime. The Resort Loop Travel Group was created with this in mind. Our fee-free services will relieve you of the stress and confusion of finding and booking the best vacation at the best price. After booking, we will continue to monitor for ways to save you even more on your vacation. We will check for any upcoming packages and discounts to save you as many vacation dollars as possible. Resort Loop Travel Group, gateway to your magical vacation memories. Get a quote, or for more information, visit ResortLoopTravelGroup.com.